right then is when our technician did an outstanding job, located those two subjects, see where those individuals were, send patrol to those individuals.
Welcome to Shop Talk with your host, Chief Jeff Walther, and newly assigned to the Community Engagement section, transferring over from the Training Unit, please welcome Public Information Officer, Sergeant Allison Simpsis.
Hey everyone, welcome to the latest edition of Shop Talk. I'm Chief Jeff Walther, and my trusty sidekick, thank God, is gone. Lieutenant Kevin Kwan, who was Sergeant Kevin Kwan, is no longer on the show with us, and we have immediately replaced him with Sergeant Allison Simpsis, and Allison's first gig with us today, the first podcast she's with, so welcome, Allison.
Thank you, Chief. Super excited to be here.
I know that's not true, but that's great. This is one of those parts of the job. Her new job is the Public Information Office Sergeant. This is one of the jobs. She's like, I really don't want to do that. Do I really have to be part of the podcast? Yes. And so I'm excited. I'm excited because I think you have some great questions lined up for our guest, who we'll identify in a minute. Special guest. So welcome. I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to replace Kevin, who did a great job and is now going to straight midnights or midnights as the new watch commander. So he'll be having a great time in the middle of the night.
I bet he's excited about that too. He'll be great.
Weekend midnights. So hey, enjoy all the festivities of Old Town and the entertainment district and all the fun and vibrancy and occasional complaints that come with that. So and not a lot of sleep. So
he's too old for that. He's not gonna be able to stay up all night like he used to.
So I'm just thankful for no more battles. Hopefully, no more battles of the Star Wars versus Star Trek, all that kind of silliness. So
absolutely not. I have no idea anything about Star Wars.
No. So we're going to significantly lower the geek level on the show moving forward with you as my sidekick. So welcome. I'm glad to have you today. We're going to talk super top secret police stuff in the Real-Time Crime Center. And I'm not going to go into at length what the Real-Time Crime Center is because I brought in our Real-Time Crime Center supervisor, Chris Henningson, and we'll get to him momentarily and have him introduce himself and talk about all the amazing things that we're doing with the Real-Time Crime Center and many, many partners, community partners, city partners that we have and how we're leveraging that to make all of you safer in the city of Scottsdale, whether you be a resident, a business owner, one of the 12, 13 million visitors that come to Scottsdale annually. So we're doing everything we can to make you safe. I like to always kick off our show with a message. Let's talk about internet safety. It's Internet Safety Month. And, with the proliferation of the internet, thank God I didn't grow up with that. But with the proliferation of social media and doing literally everything, I'm guilty of that as well. I do everything on the internet now, like everybody else. Internet safety is huge. And paying attention to your email and your social media accounts, your banking accounts, all of those things, because there's worldwide hacker groups and individuals who want nothing more than to steal your information, your identity, put it on the dark web, and sell that for a profit. And so, if they can get your information, your passwords, your banking information, they can get your money. So. Make sure that you're paying attention and participating in two-factor authentication, that you're using the random password generators. There's a ton of great apps out there related to not using, like me, the same passwords over and over and over again. Although I think I add a lot of $, exclamation points, and numbers to them. But just pay attention to what you're doing. And I know I get preachy on this. I think I was on the Mike Broomhead show, a year or so ago, and talked about paying attention to what your children are doing on social media. A lot of crazy things going on social media, a lot of different chat rooms, private chat rooms, making sure that your children are not being groomed by sex traffickers and labor traffickers. And so let's pay attention to what your kids are doing. It's not intrusion, right?
So many applications out there for the kids to get involved in that parents just need to be aware of.
Yes. So internet safety, it's a big deal. The last thing you want is your identity stolen via the internet. So
Join us today as we explore the inspiring journey of an exceptional individual. Starting as a cadet in 1998, then serving as a parking control checker and police aide, and evolving to a crime analyst. He's now leading the groundbreaking team of the Scottsdale PD's Real-Time Crime Center. Let's learn more about this perseverance story and the modern approach to law enforcement with the national president of the Real-Time Crime Center Association and leader of the unit here, Chris Henningson.
Excited to have everybody here today. Yes, Chris Henningson. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I know you're going to just let me sit here quietly and you're going to talk about Real-Time Crime Center. And so tell us about yourself, Chris, and who you are, what you do, and how important you are to the Scottsdale Police Department.
Sure. So I started with the Scottsdale Police Department as an explorer. I think there's cadets now. In 1998 with Officer Bolin. And
Bolin was a cadet?
Yeah, we were together.
Gosh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And then we had one of my advisors at the time was Jeremy O'Mara. And so
today a commander of the McKellips district.
Correct.
Yeah. He came a long way.
He did.
Wasn't Sergeant Lovell involved in that as well at that same time?
Yeah, he was. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Small world.
Yeah, very small world. Yeah, I started then, and then in 2001, I became a volunteer with the police department and volunteered in policing. And then 2005, I started as a parking enforcement checker. So I apologize if I wrote you any parking tickets. It's kind of my job. And then 2006, I became a police aide for patrol. And then about 2010, I was an investigative police aide for our gang investigations unit at the time, and assigned to, at that time, it was called the East Valley Gang and Criminal Information Fusion Center. And then a few years later, I became a police analyst, still assigned to, they changed the name at around that time to East Valley Fusion Center. And the East Valley Fusion Center is a partnership we have with the East Valley. We have, at that time, there was about 8 agencies. Throughout the East Valley that participated with that Fusion Center. And we really just, at the Fusion Center, we really supported each other for various investigations and various operations throughout the East Valley. So, and then I was asked to come back by you to come set up our Real-Time Crime Center.
That sounded like blaming. Did I just get blamed?
Yes.
I was asked to come back by you. No. Well, you were still part of us. You were just assigned as our liaison to the Fusion Center. So, yes, I
was happy to come back.
I did ask you to come back.
This is the funnest position I've ever had in the department.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. So what is that position? So we brought you back from the Fusion Center to really start a pilot program, right, in 2021. About to see if a real-time crime center was an option for us. Correct. Let's talk about that.
So originally the pilot program was supposed to be for 6 months, and I was a police analyst at the time. We had so many great successes by providing great resources to the community that we shortened that pilot program to 2 months and went live as a unit after that. And
a unit of one at the time.
It got close to 1.5. So.
Unit of one.
With our real-time center, what we normally do as we start and create units is we really rely on the associations that are out there to kind of help us provide best practices. And during this process, there was really no association that helped or was available for real-time centers. And also during that time when we set up the real-time center, it was also during COVID. Yeah. And so with most real-time centers that are set up around the country, we or those agencies will go do site visits to other real-time centers. We couldn't do that because of the COVID element. So we did a lot of virtual meetings. We met with a variety of agencies across the country: Las Vegas, Chicago, New York, Miami PD in Florida, and they were all outstanding help on how they set up their center and what we wanted to do. Scottsdale's unique, though. We're a destination-driven city, and so we really wanted to work with agencies across the country that are destination-driven so that we can learn what we can do for our center. A lot of centers are either proactive or reactive. Our center is reactive. We support our patrol officers. We only assist with active calls for service.
So let's talk about that. Let's take a step back for our listeners who really, don't really have a great grasp or concept of what a real-time crime center is. Because for those listening, that real-time crime center is a relatively new concept for us in law enforcement. And you mentioned your time at the Fusion Center. We've had the East Valley Fusion Center for a number of years, and that is many partners, but it's Scottsdale PD, Mesa, Tempe, Chandler, Apache Junction, Gilbert, Salt River, just to name most of them. It's really that group, and it's about information sharing in one central location to put out bulletins and immediate information or investigative information on crime and crime trends going on throughout the East Valley. And so for me, that was like really a great foundational component or a springboard to kind of what real-time crime centers do. I know that there's a lot of discussion that you can have both, and we, at least temporarily, have both. We still participate in the East Valley Fusion Center. But let's talk about what a real-time crime center does and kind of that evolution of, hey, can we have an apparatus within a police department to address crimes in progress right now that patrol is responding to, or investigative follow-up with information based on what's developed in the real-time crime center. Can you talk about what a real-time crime center is and does, and then we'll springboard into what we're doing?
A typical real-time center across the country is really based on supporting that agency only. That is their whole job, 100% on focusing on supporting mainly patrol. So I'll give you a good example is someone calls 911 and they say the subject's over here on the north side of the intersection and we have a traffic camera that's nearby. We can now look at that intersection and say they went north. If we can't see anybody north from there, but we see somebody south from there, we'll ask the dispatcher, hey, can you have the person call 911 point in the direction that they last saw him? And now we realize maybe that person that called 911 had the directions wrong, and we can now direct patrol to the right area of where we actually see a subject that matches that description. And so it allows us the opportunity to 911, when someone calls 911, we're only acting on what we know is in that 911 call. So dispatchers will dispatch that call. They're north, they were wearing a red shirt, blue jeans, and they ran north. With real time, we're able to actually put law enforcement eyes on the area, and we're able to provide real-time information to patrol of what direction they're going, what we last saw, the subject that is in the comments. We have identified that they're standing behind near a bus stop, and now we're able to direct patrol right into that location, allowing them the opportunity to identify, do we need to add more bodies to this call? Do we need to decrease the amount of bodies to this call? And it really helps the patrol sergeant start to make decisions as they're on their way to the call of, do we need to add a canine to this call, or do we need to ask a regional support for air unit, or what other type of resources do we need? Most of those decisions for a supervisor are made at the scene when they get there. Now they're able to make those decisions at the same time as they're on their way to that call.
So do you have somebody who's always monitoring it, or is it just when something comes up, somebody runs over there and starts looking at the cameras?
So great question. The goal is 24/7. We have staggered coverage right now to really focus on the areas that are busier for us right now. And as we add more bodies, we'll continue to add them in areas that are the busiest part of the week for us. We do have 7-day coverage. It just doesn't look the same every day, especially like you get into like a Saturday. Most of my coverage is toward the later part of the night where patrol really needs us. They really need that extra support, especially in like the downtown area.
Yeah, and what's great is that they are dedicated real-time crime center technicians who are at their consoles and really leveraging the technology. And so it's interesting because I think in the last our last podcast we talked about photo enforcement, right, and the proliferation of cameras, right. But when you talk about that response, right, and seeing where the suspect is headed, or what color shirt, or what vehicle's headed in what direction, or how are we doing that? That's the one thing that we haven't really talked about. We haven't really gotten to yet, because I think our listeners are like, okay, what do you mean you see them? So talk to us about the cameras that we're leveraging, because this is where we get a little dicey. And we in the 2 years that we've been doing a podcast, we don't shy away from tough questions, right? We don't shy away from tough topics. And so what's interesting for this is that, no, we're not London. Don't everybody freak out. We're not, it's not Big Brother with cameras everywhere. But if we're honest with each other, there are cameras everywhere. Everybody's got a Ring doorbell now, or have Nest cameras all around their homes. Businesses, especially big businesses, your city, there are cameras. Talk about how that is the primary component that we're talking about here when your real-time crime center technicians are virtually responding to a call. How are they doing that, and what are those partnerships?
Real-time center started in 2005 with New York PD. We have there's about a little over 300, almost 400 throughout the country. Here locally in Arizona, we have Glendale, Mesa PD, Salt River, Pima, Maricopa Indian Community. They have their own police department or their own real-time center. And there's multiple other real-time centers that are actively being developed throughout the valley. So we're not just the only one. With our folks, we spend a lot of, going back a little bit in regards to culture service, we spend a lot of our time in pending events. So these are events that have not been dispatched to patrol. And why we spend that time in there is we want to be able to get a few seconds ahead to try to figure out, can we provide any resources to that call? So as soon as it gets dispatched, we're already roughly involved in that area. In regards to cameras, we have phenomenal partners throughout the city, throughout community partners throughout the Scottsdale area. We leverage city cameras. So that's through municipal security, and there are cameras in all of our city buildings. We do have some cameras that were installed for the Super Bowl in downtown. We also have traffic cameras that are based throughout the city, and that's through a partnership with the Traffic Management Center. A couple things to be aware of on that. Those are owned by the Traffic Management Center, so if there's a collision coming out, we don't touch those cameras. We allow them to handle whatever they need to do for their business in regards to that. But we'll reach out to them every once in a while if we have a violent crime going on and say, hey, can we use your cameras for this violent crime? And every time they've been extremely supportive. To kind of push forward to the community partner side, this is really where a lot of community partners, when we first started, actually came to us and said, we've heard about your center. We want to give you access to our cameras. We do a legal agreement with every single community partner that we have, and that legal agreement is signed by you, Chief Walter, and the president or the CEO or the senior leader of that company, showing that we have legal right to be in their camera system. So in the event one of our technicians do see something that is a violent crime that is supportive, that investigators might need for their investigation, there shows a need that we actually had a legal right to be in their camera system for that type of investigation.
But that makes it so the community knows you're not just hopping into their cameras and looking around or anything. You actually have an agreement with all these people beforehand.
And Allison, you bring up such a great point, because so much of the discussion that I've had, and I know Chris has had even more than that, is people who came forward and said, who just didn't really know, and they thought, well, here's a big one, is that one of our several of our big partners, like Scottsdale Unified School District, Cave Creek Unified School District, there's a lot of cameras. And so I had a discussion with some of the board members, this is now quite some time ago, with Scottsdale Unified, and some really good questions at one of their board meetings was, are your people going to be looking at the cameras all the time? Are you going to be, is there an access control issue? Are you going to be watching? And so the answer to that is no. We are way too busy to just, hey, I got a lot of free time. I think I'm going to zoom in on the food court at Scottsdale Fashion Square and see who's hanging out. Well, and that's Mace Rich and Scottsdale Fashion Square is another one of our major partners. No, we don't have time for that. So the only time we're getting into your camera system, including our own municipal cameras or traffic cameras, Mace Rich for Scottsdale Fashion Square, Scottsdale Unified, any of our many partners, the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Scottsdale, who are all partners of ours. The only time we're getting into your camera system is if there's a call either at that location or adjacent to that location where we believe we can pick up some camera footage of an incident going on right now, or this is a really great one. Did somebody did a suspect vehicle pass by a particular location? And we can get into that devil in the details here in just a minute. But those partnerships, I think, are just amazingly essential. And no, we're not spending time looking at your cameras to see what cool stuff's going on around your place.
So good point on that in regards to the cameras. We're only actively watching them for active calls. We have law enforcement on your way to that location. Most of the time, depending on the call, but most of the time, our real-time center is actually calling that facility and saying, hey, we're on our way to your facility. We're going to access your cameras. And most of the time, they have no idea that we're even coming to their location. So I'll give you an example, like the mall. A normal person can call 911 at the mall, and security has no idea that they called 911. And so we have fire trucks and ambulances and police cars arriving on scene, and I call security and say, hey, we're coming into your cameras. This is what we have going on. And they're like, we had no idea. Now they're sending their security to that location to meet us. And so it's a great partnership. They're starting their protocols for their business as well. So it has been phenomenal. We've had great partnerships. And they actually really enjoy that opportunity of, hey, now we have a heads up of what's going on our property.
Yeah, that's it's amazing. And we are just really, I think just scratched the surface of what we can do, as we have begun really expanding our real-time crime center, the number of cameras that we have involved in our program. I see Chris laughing because he knows what I'm going to say because, sadly, as the police chief, I wind up speaking at a lot of different places, and I love it. I actually do love it, that community connectivity. But when I talk about the real-time crime center, I always tell people, we have 4,000 cameras that come in, that we have access to, that come into our real-time crime center. I think it's 3,972. Are we at 4,000? So my challenge always to Chris is, hey, I keep telling people we're at 4,000. When are you going to get to 4,000 and make me not a liar?
But hey, that's a great point. So if you're a community partner listening to this podcast, please reach out so I can get to my 4,000.
We're pretty close to 4,000 though.
Yeah, we're getting close.
Yeah.
Can you name every single camera's location?
No.
Go.
No.
And I know that it should sound amazing to those in our community who listen to our podcast, is that 4,000 cameras. That's a lot of cameras. It's more than the vast majority of our other partners who have real-time crime centers in the Valley. And so you and your staff have made great inroads and great relationships. You have a great chain of command with Chief Gandara and Director Bokinski. And just you guys have just done some amazing things. But there's some really cool stuff that I get excited about. And so can you talk about it's being a virtual partner to officers on the road, and how very often not only are you on scene first visually, not in a physical body, but visually you're on scene first, and then you can be a visual backup to an officer on the road, be it on a traffic stop or a community contact where they've contacted somebody along the roadway. Can you kind of talk about that and how that increases their safety?
Sure. So we have three areas that we really focus on. Virtual response is being virtually first on scene for an actual call for service. So call can come in at 12 o'clock and we're on scene at 12 o'clock. The second area we really focus on is virtual partner. Those are the calls that you just don't know what's going to happen. And so we just recently had this about a month or two ago. We had a patrol sergeant pull over a car, and the car, as soon as they got up to the front door of the car literally took off. And we watched it. We were able to help provide some direction and some idea of where that car left. Those are the calls that you just don't know how they're going to go. The patrol supervisors or officers that walk up to a traffic stop, or a check subject. That's another one. The check subjects, we've had a few where an officer goes and contacts somebody and thinks they're going to have a conversation, and then for something that they've just committed some type of crime, and then they take off into a foot pursuit, and sometimes the radio is very active, so we become the voice for that officer as they're doing their foot pursuit. So that's where the virtual partner element comes into play. And just recently, with all of these real-time centers standing up throughout the valley, we've continued our partnership with all the various agencies around us, because partnership is extremely important to our department. So we've really set up virtual mutual aid. So we have Tempe is a great example. They've been a phenomenal partner. They come into our city for like a stolen vehicle. There's only 1 or 2 officers with that vehicle, and so we stay with them until the rest of their backup shows up, or the rest of our backup comes in to help support them for that stolen vehicle.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
What other types of crimes have you seen on the Real-Time Crime Center?
So recently, one of our technicians was first on scene for a stabbing at Scottsdale Quarter, and that was in the news. And so with that call, there was a call that a security guard got stabbed. The security guard actively went after the suspect and held the suspect down. Our technician was able to share exactly where that victim and suspect were and guide patrol right into that location, and then stay with that officer until the rest of his backup showed up.
That is the coolest part of it is that, you know, a crime comes out, and that's really the crux of it. That one call encapsulates what Real-Time Crime Center is all about for us and how we utilize that. And so, you know, when that call comes out, we have eyes on it right away. There is no, and I hate to go back to the bad days of the 90s, you know, when I was a patrol officer in the early and mid 90s, where, yeah, you got a call, okay, apartment complex, the mall, the quarter, and hey, good luck. It's going to take us the first 3 or 4 minutes after we get on scene to find exactly where, you know, at the mall, where's the blue garage level 3, and, you know, parking stall 752. Yeah, good luck. You got to find that. With real time, you're leveraging the cameras on all those locations, and now you're directing, hey, it is exactly right here. And so that's great. And I think it reminds me of when we were doing you and I were doing a quick video about real-time crime centers with the Rocky Mountain Information Network, and they happened to see, they were up in our real-time crime center and happened to see a call. Come on, can you talk about that one?
Sure. So that was a stolen vehicle. We have license plate readers within the city. They're fixed.
We're going to talk about those in a minute.
Okay.
Oh, no.
So we have fixed license plate readers throughout the city. We had one at Scottsdale and Franklin Wright, and as the car entered our city, the car was entered in as a stolen vehicle. It was stolen from Phoenix 2 days prior with the keys left in the vehicle. And so as soon as it triggered that alert comes into our real-time center. We verify that the vehicle is still stolen, because sometimes they're not stolen. So we just want to make sure that everything's good before our patrol officers get behind that vehicle. So we verified it. It still was stolen. Our technician did an outstanding job on locating where that car was as a possible location. A similar vehicle pulled into a shopping center. She was able to direct patrol to that vehicle. The vehicle then started doing evasive maneuvers, and we stopped having any more contact with that car. About 10 minutes later, that car decided to start hitting cars along Cactus Road, which resulted in multiple 911 calls coming into our dispatch center. And again, while all this is going on, that film crew was watching how everything was going on within our real-time center. So it was really a cool moment for our technicians to see all the great work that they were doing. So I had 2 of them in the center, and they were able to pinpoint where that car was. They were able to help guide the last place that individual left that car, started running. Our technicians did a great job showing the last place where we saw that person run. We had no more cameras beyond that point, and then patrol was able to locate that individual and arrest him.
Yeah, it's pinpointing. It's, here's where we last saw them on the last camera, and that really whittles down the areas they can be. So that one was a great apprehension. It just happened to be that they were doing a video on our real-time crime center when that call came out. So it really showcased what we could do, how quickly we respond to that. It was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Do you get frustrated, though, trying to direct officers to the location? I would be like, no, 200 feet to the left.
They can't hear
Your
us.
left, not your right.
I'll tell you, it's cool because when you go visit districts to either do presentations or trainings. When we first started, when Lieutenant O'Mara at the time, now Commander O'Mara, him and I did patrol briefings to all patrol briefings of this is what the real-time center is. We did 5 things. Now it's much more than 5 things. And we really sat down with each of them. This is where we're going. And most of them had that glazed look of this is a new unit. I really don't know what anything is. Now when I go into districts, they're like, we get super excited when we hear you get on the radio to start directing us because most of the time we arrive on scene and we don't really know where these people are. And so we have to sometimes call them, and when you're on duty, we don't have to call them because you're already directing us exactly where we need to go.
So let's talk about the backbone of, I think, any real-time crime center in the United States. And we're going to, for those listening, we're going to talk about, you'll hear us refer to LPR, or license plate reader cameras. Not a new technology. We've had license plate readers off and on for the Scottsdale Police Department for many years now, different versions. But today we go with a company called Flock Safety for our license plate reader cameras. And it's not without some controversy, especially in my own home. My wife and I regularly disagree about this topic. But license plate readers. So let me give you, if this were a video, I would have Steve throw up on the screen my disclaimer here. This is my disclaimer: is that for those people who kind of bristle at the idea of cameras being out there and reading license plates, your license plate is issued by the state of Arizona. And so that just gives you, your registration number, who that car belongs to, who the registered owner is. Then that vehicle, that's a registration issued by the state of Arizona, and then that vehicle is operated on the public right-of-way. So it is in the public domain. I get people who say, I can't believe you're taking pictures of license plates. I get the same argument with photo enforcement, just in a different lane of travel there. Pun intended. And so with license plate reader cameras, your cars are driving by with a government-issued registration on a public street, and so we leverage that through license plate readers. What you have is, and we had 38 license plate readers cameras installed just prior to the Super Bowl, really increasing our ability to prevent and stop crime in Scottsdale. And I think, Chris, you can. I don't remember the exact numbers, but within the first, 10 days or up to that 3-week period, it was millions of plates that ran through the system. And what the system picked up was not only stolen vehicles, which you mentioned before, but registered sex offenders and warrants for the registered owner. And, I think we had 1 or 2 that was gang or terrorist associations, so that is the information that we're gleaning. Moreover, when you're driving by or there's an incident somewhere and all we had is, hey, this red sedan committed this armed robbery in this location, and we don't have any other information. Well, we can look on the license plate reader cameras and say, oh yeah, around the same time, the red car with a suspect in it matching that, with that vehicle was southbound on XYZ Street. So it's an amazing piece of technology. So much so that we, between the Flock Safety cameras, I think the 4 vigilant cameras that we have, and then through, and we can talk about this at greater length, but we have homeowners associations now who also buy these license plate reader cameras for their developments. Because there are burglaries from vehicles or home burglaries, and we're connected to those cameras as well. And I think we're at about 50, but our goal is we're going to add another, what do we say? What do you and I say? Another 42 cameras, license plate reader cameras here in the next What's my time frame? When are you getting those for us?
2 months roughly.
2 months. So our goal really to have 80-ish that the city owns, that the PD owns, and then leveraging other citizen-owned cameras or HOA cameras. So let's talk about that as the backbone. There's my disclaimer, a little long. I know I can get a little long-winded. That's my disclaimer about license plate reader cameras. And really, can you talk to us about that being the backbone and what they do for a real-time crime center?
So in regards to license plate readers, every technology partner that we have within Real Time Center they are partners, and we reach out to them to try to figure out how can we provide a better service to our patrol folks. That is about 95% of our customers. The other 5% are detectives or communications that might need assistance, but a lot of our focus is patrol. And so we regularly meet with our partners to try to figure out how can we make this product better? Where can we go? What's next? So Flock Safety is an outstanding partner to us, and with them, we're able to actually try to figure out, what would help provide the best results for an investigation. We use Flock Safety like any other investigative tool. It's an investigative tool. We do not access that tool unless we have an investigative reason to be using that tool. And we have great policy on that too. So just to kind of ease the mind of the listener. In regards to the tool though, when we have a big event, when we have a lot of great events throughout the community, we have a lot of partners that are with us too, a lot of federal partners. Yep. And if we have a vehicle that's driving by that's a gang terrorist hit, that's something they're interested in. And they will then, help provide some additional resources to why is this individual trying to drive around a major event.
Right.
As far as sex offenders, we do have some hits on the registered sex offenders. That's them going to their normal day of job, and we don't do anything with that. Where we do get some alerts on is that when we haven't seen that vehicle before drive through our city, and they're driving around at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they're hitting multiple of our LPRs,
right, when
our kids are at bus stops,
yep,
and their prior crime was something along those lines. Then we share that with our special victims unit, and they handle that. In regards to our big case or our big support that we really look at is missing people. So we had another great hit 2 weeks ago. A lady went missing from Phoenix, and we had an outstanding officer that really sat and dug in the area that we last saw that car, found the car, and then went from business to business until she found the person. And it ended up being that she just never got taken out of the system. But again, we had an outstanding officer that did a great job digging to try to find that individual, and we were able to now take her physically out of the system.
And her digging, she utilized LPR data to say, okay, I can narrow it down to this particular location to find this woman.
Correct. And then the other elements are if we have like a shooting from a neighboring agency and all they had was a red truck. It was a red truck. It was involved in a shooting, and now it's coming into our city. We are able to utilize this system to go red truck from these license plate readers that are near that city, and now we have a vehicle now that we can actually share with our patrol folks. Yeah. It's the license plate of this, this, and this, yeah, and we're able to either send patrol to that location if it's in our city, or at least advise another city that they may be coming home.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate the point you made, which is, again, we don't have the time to just be searching, willy-nilly through the LPR system for random data. This system is utilized for crimes in progress and investigative techniques for follow-up on crimes that have already occurred. And so that's how we're leveraging that technology. It is absolutely amazing. I will tell our listeners that I believe it's a complete game changer in law enforcement and how we solve crime, how we I don't want to get all Minority Report here, but it's there is a predictive component of that when you see, and you mentioned it. If you see, the vehicle that's to a registered sex offender and they're sharking around schools at 7 o'clock in the morning, well, there's a predictive element to that to hand that over to the special victims unit and say, hey, we might have a problem here. and we prevent a problem before it happens. And so there's a lot of great investigative follow-up through LPR and solving crimes in our community and our neighboring communities, be it Phoenix or Tempe or Mesa or Chandler or county jurisdiction. We really partner very well together in LPR. And no, we are not selling any data. Flock Safety does not sell any data. They're restricted by statute. They can't sell your data or the data of vehicles and where they are. No, we're not. We're not looking for people who are having affairs in areas of the city where they shouldn't be on their lunch hour or any of this craziness that I've heard people talk about before. The data is all that we're using it for is crimes in progress and follow-up investigations for crimes that have already occurred. So it's absolutely amazing stuff.
And then to the community partner aspect, there are a lot of community partners that are businesses that are starting to buy that license plate reader for their business. So every time a vehicle does enter that location, if it is stolen and it lands in that business, we'll get that alert. And now we're able to start working with trying to figure out where that car is.
So can you tell us about the association with the Real-Time Crime Center and how that got started too?
There was no association when we first started our center, which meant we had to reach out to agencies across the country. And through those conversations, we all talked about there should be an association. And so a few of us got together and we developed an association. I'm the president of the National Real-Time Crime Center Association. We went live to our membership in August of 2022. Just recently, a couple weeks ago, we're at a little over 500 members. We represent over 125 law enforcement agencies, and we're in over 35 states throughout the country. Chief Walters sits on our Police Leadership Advisory Board. So
it's good. Yeah, it's great. What is it? Is it the Executive Advisory Committee? Something like, yeah. So whatever you call it. Who's the president of that National Real-Time Crime Center Association?
I just said it.
He just glossed right over
He just glossed right over it, right?
Nothing was said about it.
Yeah, you kind of.
I did say it.
I know, but it was very quickly. So
no big deal. Just the president.
Honestly, I want to always give you props, but publicly, you've done an amazing job. Not just with our Real-Time Crime Center, but you've really brought real-time crime centers to the forefront nationally, and really building that national real-time crime center organization has just been absolutely amazing. So we find ourselves largely because of you as a leader in real-time crime centers, and it's pretty cool.
Well, and the awesome part is I'm able to see what other agencies across the country are doing, so that we can start providing either best practices here or changing models or providing new technology for our patrol officers of what we can do to help them out, and then the networking. The networking has been phenomenal, and with our leadership advisory board, I think we're at 15 people, and that's everly growing. I will tell you, when I started with the association, I never assumed that every week I would be talking to a different chief, because most real-time centers throughout the country start with the idea coming from the chief or somewhat near the chief. And then most successful real-time centers, the chief is always actively involved. Our chief is actively involved in ours. And so it really keeps a pulse on what we're doing and what we can change for our department. With the real-time centers throughout the country, right now the big thing is the virtual mutual aid on trying to figure out how do we connect. There are stolen vehicles, and when somebody knows that they've stolen a vehicle, they don't want to be stopped. And so there is a chance when they leave our city, they're going to go to the city next to us. And so if we can try to figure out a way that we can kind of protect their community at the same time by sharing that information with the patrol officers or real-time center in that area, that's the next evolving switch. But again, more and more chiefs throughout the country are actively trying to figure out how to develop a real-time center, and we now have an association that will help them develop that real-time center instead of doing it completely by scratch.
So is there a website if people want to know more about the NRTCC? Is that it? National Real-Time Crime Center Association.
NRTCCA.org.
I think you hit on one thing that I wanted to go forward with is that where do we go from here? What's the next latest and greatest? As we, and maybe you can incorporate in this, as we have rolled out to patrol. We have drones in patrol now. We have drones in our tech unit. We have drones that we bring to bear on a lot of different calls. We now have 2 tethered drones for to get really some great operational coverage on a large scene. So what's next for us? And are we able to leverage some of that drone footage in the real-time crime center?
The drone first responder program.
Yes.
More and more agencies. Glendale has a phenomenal one. Salt River's really looking at developing theirs as well. And so the goal with that is just like real time of putting cameras near an area to see if we have anything. Sometimes we don't have anything because we have no cameras in that area.
Right.
Having a drone in the air, now we have another camera in the air that will allow us the opportunity to feed that camera to our real time center, as well as feed that camera to the sergeant that's on the way to the call or at the call to see what the big picture is.
Right. Right.
And there are a lot of privacy elements to that. Most of these drones, the drone just goes to the location with no camera facing down. It's facing straight so they can see where they're going. And then when they get there, then the camera goes down so they can kind of see what's going on for that area.
And that is truly, I think that's the future, drones as a first responder. We have looked at, my staff and I are uber technology driven, just because we're leveraging a lot of great technology. And drones as a first responder, we've looked at a couple companies that are almost there. They're not quite there yet, where you would map out the city and then have on city buildings throughout the city, you could have, we looked at it, we could probably do the whole city with probably 6 drones centrally located throughout the city. And when we got a call that was drone specific that we could use a drone for, it would get kicked over to real time. You would type in the address, hit go, and it would take off from the closest location where a drone as a first responder would go, and it would fly to that exactly how you're talking about. It wouldn't be looking down. It would take off. It would fly to that location, and then it would either hover or orbit over that location and give you a bird's eye view of that incident. And it could be something as simple as report of a collision at Frank Lloyd Wright in the 101. Great. I don't have an officer available at the time. Let's go take a look real quick. The drone gets there. Yeah. And the real-time crime center technician says, yeah, that's pulled off into the Target parking lot. So 2 cars, here's where, something as simple as that, right? And so that is the future. Today, we have rolled out 6 drones in patrol. And if you saw those in studio, amazing life-saving effort by one of our drones night before last, and it was on a 70-year-old missing dementia patient who walked away from home, walked out into the desert. Nobody knows. Gone, nighttime, and officers got there, got a drone into the air, and our drones have forward-looking infrared or FLIR on them so they can see in the dark, and got overhead and ultimately found the drone, and the drone pilot, Officer Greg Now, found the guy under a bush, heat signature. He was injured, disoriented, dehydrated, and was able to direct the officers into where he was. And then, again, with another little piece of, not technology, but piece of equipment that we carry, threw him on the fast stretcher, a portable stretcher, threw him on that, took him 150, 200 yards out and to where he could get medical treatment. But that absolutely saved a life. And just my goal really is to bring our drone capabilities together with our real-time crime center and make that a very seamless operation for us.
And you touch on a good point. So although the real-time center is in the PD, we help fire all the time. We have an idea of where all the fire calls are going on. And so a good example, we had a fire down south. We had 1 fire truck going. We actually saw the flames are about 30 to 40 feet in the air. We called fire back and said, hey, those flames are about 30, 40 feet in the air, and they're almost close to a hotel. By the time that first fire truck arrived on scene, 9 more were dispatched. And so, again, that first fire truck would be having the one making that call, but now we're able to show real time what's going on. The other element of where we're going is more community partners to kind of base off of. I know a question was asked in regards to, we did a training exercise at Kokopah Middle School we planned.
That was amazing. I was there and watched that whole. It was terrific.
Yeah, but you guys ruined the entire thing.
You
with
ruined
how
it.
amazing
I know.
it was.
You ruined it.
But I will tell you, in all honesty, my boss was next to me. I told Commander Myers, what do you want us to do? And he told me, do what you guys do best.
Yes.
And so our technician, he had only been in that system for maybe 30 minutes the day before.
Yeah.
And so it was a great test for him, too. It was a very emotional overload once he actually consumed everything that he did in that 10-minute period.
You got to explain it from the start.
So we had 2 active shooters that
Scenario. So we had a live major active shooter scenario at Cocopa Middle School on a Saturday.
Correct.
That was going to be like a 4-hour drawn out scenario. Scottsdale PD, Phoenix PD, MCSO, DPS, Paradise Valley, right? Every like we wanted to include everybody because that's what you get in an active shooter, right? To respond.
Oh, it was awesome. The response from cops there and everything, personnel from all around the city.
Right. And it was literally a dry run. It was not, it was kicked out to patrol. They knew it was going to be a scenario, but here's where it is. Respond like you normally respond. Okay. You take it from there.
Now you're really making me feel like we've really ruined
Wait,
it.
I got to add
It
more.
was great.
There were teachers from the school.
Oh,
inside,
gosh, yes.
School administrators.
Kids.
There were kids that were inside for acting as students.
We had them
involved
made
in
up with
this.
blood and everything.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It was an amazing scenario to set up with our community partners, Scottsdale Unified School District, Cocopa staff, parents, teachers,
Months of planning.
other agencies. And we responded to that how we would respond to that in a real scenario. Go, Chris.
So 2 individuals walked up to the school. They both had guns. They shot one of our police officers, the officer that was on scene. And right then is when our technician did an outstanding job, located those 2 subjects, was able to have patrol
On
go
camera.
Yep. Through the school cameras.
Yep.
And which that school only has about 30. And they were able to he was able to log in, see where those individuals were, send patrol to those individuals, arrest them, and then there was.
Did they arrest them? I think you're being a little nice. They did what they put the suspect down.
You're right.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
That was a very nice way of
That was a very nice way to say they engaged the suspect with gunfire and they eliminated the threat and moved on to the next one.
Well, do you want to share a little bit about what else was supposed to happen?
It was supposed to be that there was a suspect hiding in a closet that would come out and ambush the officers upon arrival. But based on your cameras, one officer went in and knew exactly where they were at and told every single officer where, and everybody. In the end, it lasted like 10 minutes.
It was great because it was when the real-time crime center technician came on, and it was Marcos Hernandez. Yep. It was, okay, suspect number 1 is by building C, wearing this, and moving in this direction. And the responding officers didn't have to guess. In a major school complex, they knew exactly where suspect number 1 was and where they were moving to. And those first responding officers moved to that location, immediately engaged that suspect in simulated gunfire. And again, this is a scenario. Simulated gunfire, put that suspect down, and then Marcos was on. Okay, suspect number 2 is in camouflage. He's by the tree, center courtyard. Looks like he's armed with a long gun. And they did an amazing job, because I watched this happen live. They did an amazing job actually moving across the courtyard, using the tree that the suspect was behind as distant cover. And then by the time the second suspect realized that the officers were there and started to engage him in gunfire, they put him down quickly. And then another part of the scenario was a third suspect was going to gain force entry to one of the classrooms and hold hostages. And we had all of our officers responding with their normal breaching gear. Yes, we do carry breaching gear. I'm not giving you any secrets, but we responding with breaching gear. But the officers were so quick and getting such timely information from real time that they put the third suspect down as he was trying to enter the classroom. And scenario over. Yeah. Actually, we did a lot of then building clearing. SWAT elements were responding, and we built it. We really did an amazing job in the scenario. All of our community partners, all of our local other agencies responding, did an amazing job at evacuation and reunification and all that. So
there were some explosive devices that were unaware in the training element that he was able to actually identify along the way as well. Like there are pipes that are strapped to these buildings or strapped to these trees that look suspicious. And so they were able to send patrol to those locations as well. But yeah, he did an outstanding job. He was able to wrap the whole thing up in 10 minutes. I know I had a lot of upset people after that. But
it was great.
but he
I was
did his
super
job.
happy, and that's all that matters.
That's right. That's right.
He deserves the credit, though. So
does.
the officers got all the credit, and I would have been like, I did this.
Right.
This was actually me.
It was awesome to watch and awesome to listen to at the same time, with Marcos in real time giving immediate updates. Okay, here's descriptions. That way you don't have officers, first off, you don't have officers now wasting time trying to find a suspect. You don't have potentially what's blue on blue with officers coming from different angles from on the campus. You know exactly where that it was like textbook. It was beautiful. It was great, and that's how we leverage our real-time crime center and our community partners, SUSD and Cave Creek Unified and others throughout the community. God forbid if we have some type of incident like this, and it just leverages that technology, which I think is incredibly, incredibly important.
Chris Henningson has just taken us on a thrilling tour of the Real-Time Crime Center. For a deeper dive, nrtcca.org is your go-to. Now let's buckle up for Sergeant Sumsis's 4 Reels round. Brace yourself, the real fun begins now.
All right, I see we've taken a ton of your time, Chris, but we still have questions for you. So this is the time, and Allison has taken up this mantle where Quan would ask a handful of really dumb questions.
It's all right. I don't know anything
with
about
Allison
Star
though,
Trek
they're
or
going to be
Star Wars
better.
either.
They're going to be actually. This is fun. These are fun, like a quick way to end and close out, which was a really awesome podcast for us, and I really thank you for being here. It's been pretty cool. Allison, go ahead.
Okay, so with June and camping season and everything like that, and Father's Day coming up, name your best dad joke. And it can't involve a penguin, I've been told.
If my kids were listening right now, my kids are all adults, but they know exactly the dad joke that I'm going to give them right now. In fact, they're going to be reciting it if they listen to this, which they don't. They're going to be reciting this. You're going down the street and your pedal falls off. How many frogs are in your oven? None, because ice cream doesn't have bones.
What?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's really ridiculous, actually.
Two
Chief.
penguins are sitting on an iceberg.
No,
one falls off.
Penguins.
No, he
no
can,
penguins.
He
No
can
penguins.
take mine. I don't have one.
No penguins. Okay, we won't do that one. What's the difference between a duck? True or false? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't even have a response for that one. Okay, next one.
Chris, do you have one?
I don't.
You have
Okay.
to name something.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, so then you get to answer this one first. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Sure.
Why?
Bread, and there's something inside the bread.
No, it's a hot dog.
But you can't just use the words in it, Chief, that I said. Like, why is it not a sandwich?
Because it's a hot dog. I don't understand the question.
Is it not a sandwich because it's not round?
Of course it's not a sandwich. Sandwich is stackable. Hot dog.
Hot dog is stackable. You have a bun and a bun.
No.
That's the
It would only be stackable if you turned the dog on its side, the whole bun on its side. Then it could be a sandwich. But that's not how you eat it. A hot dog is a hot dog. A sandwich is different.
That was the stupidest question ever.
That must have been a Quan joke.
That was a quan. That was a quan.
No, that was actually a Sergeant Syrbolic.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. These two are just kind of, what would you rather? Okay, what forest animal would you be and why?
Forest animal. Bull elk. Just the most majestic animal in the forest. Typically the alpha in any elk herd. And so, yeah, bull elk.
I like that answer.
I'll take bear.
Yeah.
You go wherever you want to go. You get whatever you want.
Eat whatever you want to
So,
eat.
if a bull elk and a bear were fighting, who would win?
Well, he's the chief, so he's going to win.
First off, I don't think they wouldn't typically fight. They're both huge animals. But if they did, I would tell you that the elk has a little bit more, I think, in its favor because especially a mature bull elk has standoff distance with those antlers.
Yeah.
And so
I appreciate that you're really trying to think this through. Standoff distance, the weapons that he has at his use. Okay, last question. For camping, tent, RV, or glamping, and why?
I like RV.
Why?
It's secure. You know, like a tent, like if you get a good wind,
That
you're
bull
going
moose
with
will
the
come
wind.
with-
And
the bull elk?
Yep, the bull elk. You can shut the door with the bear.
My wife and I were, prior to me coming back and being the chief, avid backpackers, like to get into the backcountry. We do tent camp. But maybe the older I get, the more RV sounds great.
I'm not sure what glamping is. Isn't that
glamping is where somebody else glamping is where somebody else sets up a beautiful tent in the middle of nowhere and then puts a queen bed in it with a wood stove and then serves you. There are actual glamping companies.
What would you do?
Yeah.
I would definitely pick the RV.
Yeah.
Especially because then you can run over the little forest.
And what's your forest animal? Because Quan answered these with us, so you have to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
Really, squirrel?
Because I can run and hide and eat everything I want. Nobody pays attention to me. And if I get hit by something like a car, it's just quick and painless. Okay.
Oh God.
Okay, what's your thought on the hot dog?
Sandwich.
Okay.
It's definitely a sandwich.
That's
it. That was it.
All right, those are some good ones.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Sorry,
usually
no
Quan was about Star Trek or Star Wars and Millennium Falcon and Tatooine and all these weird things. So
You don't have to worry about that.
I don't even know what that is. Yeah.
I don't even know who Quan is anymore. And so, Chris, again, thanks for being here. This is such a great topic because I think the vast majority of people have no idea what we do, how we do it in terms of real-time crime center, and leveraging some amazing, amazing technologies to keep our officers safer, respond to calls for service at least virtually quicker, and provide an incredible investigative tool for follow-up to really solve crime and help prevent crime. Because when you solve crime quickly, that word gets out there amongst bad guys, and they're like, I'm not going to. They have too many cameras. They're always on me. So amazing stuff. And I want to thank you personally for your leadership. You've really done an amazing job. And so to everybody else out there, and remember, every day offers each of us the opportunity to be more in the service of others. And I also want to thank Allison for being here. Yeah, it's going to be, I know she just loves this. She loves the camera and the spotlight and the microphone. And so, Allison, thanks for being here and thanks for taking this job. And we're going to do some great things together.
Thank you, Chief.
Take care of each other. I know I say that all the time. I get a little preachy, but take care of each other. There's a lot of craziness going on. A little bit more patience, a little bit more love, and a little bit more gratitude, I think will make this world a better place. And thanks for listening, and we'll see you next month.
And just like that, we've reached the end of episode 22. As Arizona cranks up its impression of a giant barbecue, let's remember one thing. Our kids and furry friends are not hot dogs on the grill. So let's keep them out of the sizzling car. When you leave them, take them with you. Remember to stay safe and cool during these roasting times, and prep for a firecracker-filled yet safe 4th of July. For all you need to know about city-approved sparklers and kabooms, light up your curiosity and visit our social media channels, or fan the flames of fireworks on scottsdaleaz.gov. Until next time, keep it cool, Scottsdale.